Welcome to the Shooting the Breeze Conversation with the DJ podcast with your host, Eric Lee.
What's going on, folks? What's going on? What's going on? Time for Shooting the Breeze Conversations with the DJ. And generally, we usually kick the show off right about 8 o'clock. But something happened that has never, ever happened to us. They said that it was too much traffic on the stream right now in totality. So it told us to wait 30 to 60 seconds. Believe me, we've been waiting longer than 30 to 60 seconds to do this, but it's all good. We are on. We are ready to rock and roll. It's Shooting the Breeze, Conversations with the DJ podcast. Yours truly, Eric Lee, in the house. And my man Lorenzo, I see is not with us tonight, but the show is going to go on. And I got a brother that I am so proud of. We were grown in the business pretty much together. He has worked with some of the largest artists, and we're going to get right to it. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for my man, TR. Take it to the bridge. Maybe not that TR.
What's up, E-Money?
Tony Rice is in the building, y'all.
I was thinking about something when in your intro, you were talking about the traffic. You know, I live in LA, brother.
Oh,
anything sparks traffic. We may have traffic in the alleyway. We may have traffic at the ice cream parlor. There's always traffic. So,
brother, it is so good to see you. How you been?
Man, I've been good, brother. Just, living a good life, enjoying my days. And as you can see, I'm still in the office. This is my home office. And
you Cali time. You're in Cali time.
The woodsy thing keeps us calm. Yeah, we're on Cali time. We're probably about 5:30 in the afternoon. You can see the bright sunlight coming in over there. But things have been good, man.
Good. Once again, man, I'm excited to have you on the show. Thank you for taking the time out. We get a chance to, one of the reasons why we put together the program is because we wanted to talk to some of the people that were very instrumental in the lives in the background of some of the largest artists and some of the music that we love and cherish. And we want to give those flowers to those folks right now. And you were an influence on a lot of people's career.
Wow.
So we want to give you your flowers today, brother. Once again, got to give you your flowers.
I guess I didn't really look at it like that. I looked at it like I was the one that was super fortunate being around all those people, because I feel like I work with some great artists. I learned a lot about being an adult from all of them, because like you said in your intro, you and I grew into this together at the same time. We were youngsters when we got into this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had an opportunity to sit next to Stevie Wonder and eat some lunch, and I was like, I'm sitting next to Stevie Wonder eating lunch, and we talking about whatever we talking about,
right?
But that was kind of the daily flow. Working at Motown, it was just filled with legendary artists, and then those who were going to become legends.
Right.
People like Boyz II Men. I don't know. I think you and I talked about this at some point in time. I brought them to Richmond. To the CIAA banquet. And I think we were like 8 months before the record was even released. They had never done like any kind of live performance under the Motown banner.
Right.
And so I had them perform and they liked it. And you guys just, you guys wrapped your arms around them at radio and they were like, wow, this is great. And that was like February, I think. And the record came out that summer. And and so, so like I said, man.
We jumping the gun, brother. We jumping the gun. We got to start from the beginning.
Oh.
Why'd you get into the music industry? How did it start? We're going to have a conversation, man. We can't jump to Boyz II Men.
Yeah, right. Actually, man, I was what I called a radio nerd. As a kid, my father owned a bar, so he used to get 45s. And so when the guy would come clean out the jukebox, my dad would bring home all these 45s. So I developed this love for music very early on because my grandfathers, they were both musicians. I'm not a musician. I wish I would have been, but my love for music is so strong. And so it all emanated from me loving music. In high school, I had the good fortune of going to a high school that was one of the best in the area,
Right.
and had facilities that were just unparalleled. You know, we had a full TV facility, we had a full radio facility, and we broadcasted to a community. And so I had 3 years of broadcast experience before I even walked in the door at Howard University as a freshman communication major. So,
HBCUs in the house. So you went to Howard University.
you know.
Oh
So,
boy.
yeah, good times there, man. So, you know, being a radio junkie, I would record at night. I would listen to K-Ace and KJLH and K-Day and KGFJ and listen to all the DJs. And Frankie Crocker was on the radio here at Q102. So I was all into that. You know, my friends were like, what is this guy all about? You know, and I had come from the East Coast to Los Angeles as a teenager.
Right.
So that was kind of like, and when I got here, I didn't know anyone. So I think the radio became my first friend.
Right.
You know, because I listened, you know, back home in Philly, you know, I lived in the Philadelphia area and, you know, grew up listening to DAS FM and Budwall and all those guys, Tony Brown.
Right.
And when I came out here, I had that in my mind because in Philadelphia, black radio was huge. It's huge now. It was huge then.
Right.
You know, it set the pace for the community. So when I came here, you know, I'm listening to radio, I'm getting into it. And my uncle, he owned a recording studio. Can Function recorded there, Click, some Commodore songs were recorded there. So when I got older, you know, later in high school, I would hang out there. My job was to wash cars and go get lunch, sweep the floors. But I was exposed to stuff.
Right.
And, you know, that was like, I need to figure out how to get into that business.
Right.
So flash forward, go to college, start working in radio in college, worked at the Carrier Current Station, HBC, which was a laboratory for Howard University.
Yeah.
Had the good fortune of working at HUR on air.
Right.
And I worked in production behind the scenes at WRQX, which was Q107 at the time.
Right.
So downtown Vinnie Brown, my main job as a teenager, as a college student, was answering the phones for Vinnie Brown.
Yeah.
So you know, flash forward 10, 15 years later, I'm national director of some record company, and I'm walking to RKS. Yeah, hey man, what's going on? You know, but
what's poppin', Vinny? Yeah, that's me. Remember me, your intern?
So the lesson that I learned early is that as you move through, you meet people.
Right.
You treat those people with respect.
Absolutely.
They feed into you. They teach you. You learn things from them. And there will come a time, because this whole thing is secular. You run into them again. And
Absolutely.
maybe you're at a different station in life.
Right.
And maybe they can help you or you can help them. So, you know, that was a lesson that was imparted on me early. And I think I told you in another conversation, I just feel like a lucky guy, man, because, you know, I got to work at Motown Records. I got to work for legendary record executives with legendary recording artists.
Yeah, man. You did.
You know.
I mean, you were doing your thing. You know, shout out to Howard and all the HBCUs. And I remember meeting a bunch of folks from, and we talked about Chris Washington, the
legendary Chris Washington.
We all got together for the Black College Radio Convention in Atlanta at this little rinky-dink hotel called Pascal's.
Yeah,
but you know what?
The historic Pascal's Motor Inn.
The Motor Inn. And
the civil rights giants had breakfast there often.
Absolutely. When we think about, you know, we joke about it because as kids, we really didn't understand the history of Pascal. Exactly. We was like, man, what we up in this?
What's this all about? Yeah.
But you know, I have relationships from college students that went to the Black College Radio Conference, including my man Damien, who was now he's over at XM Radio.
I just saw Damon too. He was out here for Grammys. Yeah.
Chris Washington, of course, the legend. Man, so we had a lot of folks that we had a great relationship with, and we continue through, out our lives, all starting being at the Black College Radio Conference. And then, of course, we moved on to do our thing in commercial radio. And, of course, some of us went to records. Speaking of records, like you said, what was your first record job?
My first record job was at Motown. Actually, my first job, real job after college, was working for Radio and Records Trade Magazine.
R&R.
Yeah, I worked for R&R in the summer, and Walt Love was like, you know what? When you graduate, if you come back to LA, you got a job.
Walt Baby Love.
Yeah, the legendary Walt Baby Love. So I was like, so when I graduated, you know, I had interviewed with KYW TV in Philadelphia, and they hired me to do production. Okay. Like I said, production was my thing, but I don't know. There was this pull to get back to LA, you know, because I had only lived in LA. I lived in LA for 3 years before college. Right. And so I called him up. He said, yeah, the offer still stands. So I moved back, and in a week I was working at Radio and Records, and I worked there for a couple of years. And that's how I met a whole bunch of program directors, a whole bunch of record executives. And when Boston Ventures bought Motown from Berry Gordy, Joe Busby came in from MCA, brought in a whole executive crew. And that executive crew included Ronnie Jones. And Ronnie Jones knew me. One of my guys, Ronnie Jones, my man. I just talked to him not too long ago, man. He's chilling out here in Cali too. And he called me up and he said, I got 2 jobs. I got a job in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I got a job in Washington, D.C. Which one do you think you do the best job at? I said, DC, you know, I did radio in DC. My people are there. You know, I know the landscape. He said, okay, that's it. So we went through went through that. And within a month, I was in DC carrying records to HUR, DJY, KYS, and what other radio stations I could find. Yeah, and that's how I got started. That's how I got started.
And I because we were in the business so early on, last year we celebrated 50 years of hip hop.
Yeah.
How do you feel being at the infancy? Well, we won't say infancy, but definitely preteens of what hip hop was.
Well,
because we were really there near the beginning of hip hop.
I mean, for me, growing up in the Philadelphia area, I was there in the beginning of hip hop because, in Philly, you go to block parties, like let's say 76, 77, you go to block parties. There was DJs out there doing their thing. There were bands. So, looking back now saying it's 50 years, I remember as a 20 something joking with people saying, yo, man, you think BDP is going to have like a residency in Vegas one day? That'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
Right.
Here we are with Wu-Tang in Vegas.
Wu-Tang got a residency.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. I mean, our culture moves the world, not just America, but the world. I mean, my former business partner lives in Johannesburg, and he's like, it's unbelievable the influence that our music has had around the world. Right. Black music, don't sell yourself short ever.
Oh, no, not at all. Because I remember the times, and we joke about it all the time, that when a black artist got too big, they were taken away from us.
Yeah.
They were then called pop artists.
Yeah.
And the black music department lost that artist in certain lanes because of the amount of records that they were selling. Can you imagine somebody says Wu-Tang went from urban to pop?
Yeah.
Because they were
it's interesting. It's interesting now because I'm raising a teenager, and I listen to some of the music that he's listening to in the background. Right. And when you think of like Cardi and Sexy Red, Megan, that's pop music.
That's pop music. Remember that music could never be played until after 6 o'clock.
Exactly. After 6 o'clock, and on some radio stations, it didn't get played at all. I mean, when I worked at WHUR, we had just finished. I got there right after the handle of 360 Degrees of Blackness. Okay. We at that time, we sounds like Washington. That was it. That was the tagline, right? So we were into a smoother vibe. I think DJ Y was playing some hip hop. PGC didn't exist yet
at the time. Okay.
So we get our rap music from WEAA, Morgan State's radio station,
right?
From Frank Ski when he was on V103 up in Baltimore.
Hey man, Frank's a legend. He had an untimely death in his family last week.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, brother. Condolences out to that brother. That's a good brother too.
Frank, that's a good brother. He lost his son.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reach out to him when you can.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
absolutely.
Indeed.
So yeah, Frank's a legend. Of course, he's a legend here in Atlanta. He's a legend in Baltimore. He's Doodoo Brown. He's what's the song? The Wobble record. That's his music. The WAP record. That they was sampled. Cardi and Meg sample his stuff.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to just see how our music has grown. Like I said in the beginning of this conversation, I just feel blessed that I had the opportunity to interact with so many great people. I mean, I think about some of the artists that I work with. Then I think about some of the people who in our community, they were celebrities, but outside of our community, I don't think they got the flowers. When I think of somebody like Gerald Austin, the most talented individual, the nicest man that I ever met in the music business, I just think about those kinds of things, like those kinds of voices I had an opportunity to be close to. Malira. Remember Malira?
You want to go outside in the rain?
Yeah, man. I mean, I
still play that album.
So just thinking about like our A&R at Motown was really young. Steve McKeever was our age, and he was the senior VP of A&R, right? So he had his finger on the same pulse we had our fingers on at one time, trying to manage the legendary artist, but at the same time trying to bring that youthful exuberance out, because the youth market is what drove our business, right? So, being able to sign, the Johnny Gill signing, I think, came through relationship with Gerald Busby and what happened at MCA. I don't know the whole story, but I'm sure that was a lot of what was going on. But, Good Girls and ABC,
another bad creation.
And that was Dallas Austin. That was Dallas Austin just getting it started.
But his Boys to Men, ABC, and BBD.
Yeah, I mean, he was just getting. Dallas Austin was a teenager. Him and Jonte Austin, his little brother, they were kids.
Right.
It's amazing to me, So, I just feel like all of us, you, Lorenzo, all the cats that we know, we had an opportunity. All the women, we had an opportunity during that time to be in Black music in what I consider a second golden age.
Yeah. Man,
because the true golden age came during probably our parents' childhood with like Motown and the stuff in the
Brown and the Temps and all of those guys.
But I like to say that we kind of grew up and grew through the second golden age, where
absolutely. We were part of the birth of a 50-year of hip hop that they thought was going to be a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
And of course, it's the overwhelming genre of music that's being played and sold all over the place. I want to give a couple of shout outs real quick, man. Lisa Atkins, thanks for checking in. My man, Frankie D, he said he is hip hop, break dancing, Fresh Fest OG, and the gentleman that I'm about to bring on, or about to shout out, before I shout him out, let me see if I can find that shot, because I know I put it here somewhere.
You got pictures? You got pictures you've been hiding?
Bro, I got your pictures, man, and I'm going to find I'm going to find your pictures, bro. I'm going to find your pictures, because you've done a lot of stuff in this business. In this business, so I want to make sure we get to it. So let me see where the upload files are. But no, man, we're glad you got a chance. Oh, there it is. I see it now. You can't hide. You can't hide. I got you. Special shout out now. It's crazy because This gentleman that I'm about to shout out has actually been on the show before. He's been on the show a number of times because he's here every week because he always saying something. My man. He said, hey, Eric, shout out to my WHBCU brother legend.
Yo, what's up, G? What's going on?
He was in the house. And
Hey,
there's
Greg, do you remember that picture?
Greg, you remember that picture, baby? Oh, look at y'all. Young and fresh in the face.
I was about the size of a fullback back then.
Back at WKYS. And yeah. Oh, he said most definitely. And for the folks, Greg chimes in on a weekly basis. Thank you for checking us out, Greg. But Greg, for folks that are tuning in for the first time, if you remember anything with BET in the videos, Greg was the music director for BET as well as WKYS in DC. So for folks in the DC area, everybody knows who he is. But for the folks that watched BET back in the day and saw those music videos, the man in the picture, along with Tony, was the one that was responsible for shaping what BET was. So shout out to Greg all the time, every time. Got to give him his flowers again.
Hey, let me drop something on you. The entire time we lived in DC, DC radio was great. It was mellow. Greg Diggs turned it on its head because he was the first to put a traffic jam on the radio. And that was hot. He went from the classics out in Maryland to the big stick at KYS, and you could hear KYS all the way up to almost Delaware. So
DMV.
Yeah.
In Delaware.
Yeah, no, it's truly.
Yeah.
You could take 95 and you could ride north on 95 and you could get WKYS 93.9 almost in Delaware.
Wow. Yeah,
I know, they had a big signal.
One of the big signals.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're checking us out on the podcast, do us a favor, drop us a like. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, drop us a like. If you're on Twitter, drop us a like. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit the share button as well as subscribe because we do this each and every week. Now I'm gonna take you to this station right here, and we're gonna talk. Yeah, we're gonna take you to WOL.
First of all,
we got heck, of course.
That is the coolest program director ever known, Mr. Hector.
I mean, he look at it right now. It's like this. All he did is a Coke 45. Come on, baby.
So the young lady that you have in the shot, she was in the previous shot. Her name was Lisa Taylor. She was a vocalist for Giant Records. Extremely talented, had an extremely immense range vocally. I wonder what she's doing these days, but she has such a beautiful voice. And this picture and the previous picture are all taken around the same week because she came through and we took her from Hampton all the way up to New York doing radio with her.
Now, this is WOL, right?
Yeah. This was right. They were actually working on putting Magic on the air, but at that time they had only OL under their ownership at that time.
And you said for the folks that don't know, if you ever heard of Radio 1 and Kathy Hughes.
That's where it all started.
This is where it all started at this AM station right here, WOL. In what was the movie that Don Cheadle did?
Oh, about Petey Green.
Petey Green.
Yeah.
That was based on that station that Tony and Hector are in front of right now.
Yeah, WOL. Actually, now that I think about it, my memory was a little cloudy. Magic, WMMJ, was actually on the air. That's why we were there visiting, because Magic was playing Lisa Taylor's record. But OL was all talk at that time. It was all talk and just
the first
doing
one for Radio 1, right? That was the first one for Kathy.
Yeah, OL was her first station.
That's the one she slept in.
Yeah, Miss Hughes was the general manager at HUR right before I got there.
Okay. Oh, so you already know. Yeah. That's good stuff, man. And think about the history of it because, Urban One or Radio One, and also has TV One.
Yeah.
And, for them to be the juggernaut that they are, it all started. And you were right there, bro. You're right there.
Well, I think their story is the story that people can really lock into because they saw that there was a niche in the marketplace. And I know that I remember her reaching out to the community, raising money to purchase the signal for WMMJ.
Okay.
I mean, that was truly a community station. I mean, WOL was in the basement of that building on I want to say it was 11th, or it was either 11th or 8th. I think it was 8th and H Northeast.
Right.
And at that time, that was kind of a rugged neighborhood. But now, there's people walking dogs and wearing shorts and playing polo.
It's gentrified. It's gentrified.
It's gentrified. Very much so.
I got a question for you. You talked about a few seconds ago the balance between the old guard at Motown, and I'm thinking you're talking about the Miss Rosses of the world,
the legendary artists, yes.
But in the new up and coming, the Boys to Men, the ABC, the Johnny Gills of the world. How did you balance that? Because you still got to pay homage to Smokey. You got to pay homage to the Boss. You got to pay homage to those guys because the Temps were still on Motown.
Yes. Yeah, the Temps were on. We had a couple Temps albums. Miss Ross was there. Stevie, obviously.
Of course, Stevie.
And then what Gerald was able to do was that he brought other legendary artists there. Like so Lionel Hampton had a record there while I was there.
Okay.
When we started the jazz label, Mo Jazz, Lionel Hampton had a release. Gerald Austin, who I had mentioned earlier from the Manhattans, he did his first couple solo albums on Motown. Okay. So, those things were the wonderful part about it was that going to radio with those talented people allowed us to open the door for these newer people like the Good Girls and like ABC, artists that no one knew about, but they were like, well, you guys are coming with this other stuff. And, Gerald was definitely all about the artist development side coming from the Motown tradition.
Right.
So, I don't know if you remember, do you remember we did the Motown review tour? We did one in Richmond.
Yeah.
We did one. I think you guys were the host station.
We were the host station.
Yeah. So, and that was kind of a throwback, kind of fusing the past, the legendary past of Motown with the current day at that time. So, but I left Motown for what was a bigger job with Giant Records, custom label under Warner Brothers.
Right.
Real interesting time, different culture, different mentality, but we had that Color Me Bad record that's on the wall back there.
Hold on, player. Hold on. Look, people joke me about my Color Me Bad. They just don't know.
Yeah, they sold a lot of records.
These boys sold 3 million records with I Want to Sex You Up.
Yeah, and that came off of the movie soundtrack for New Jack City.
New Jack City. So I mean, you can't front on a record that came off of New Jack City.
Yeah, so Giant was interesting too, because it launched their careers and launched the careers of a couple of others who, and I know last week when Nat Martin was on, we were talking about Christopher Lee.
Hold on. Listen, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it up. Jay.
Yeah.
Giant Records. Thank you for my flash, Tony.
Let me tell you something. They redid one of my all-time favorites to this day. They redid the Emotions Blessed on that album.
I got my Jade.
Yeah.
I got my Jade.
Yep. It's it's really cool to like I maybe listen to the radio here, like I might tune into KJLH sometimes, and to hear them play some of that Jade music, I'm like, wow, it stood the test of time. That's good.
Oh yeah, that's still right.
That's good. But there were others at Giant that they sold records. They didn't get the notoriety that they should have gotten because they were underground. We had Lord Finesse. We did a record on Lord Finesse. I mean, that's hip hop royalty right there. We talking about 50 years. We had Lord Finesse at Giant. We did a record on him. We did a record on Del the Funky Homo Sapien.
Oh, Del the Funky Homo.
That's right. We had FS Effect, and we had some radio love with the FS Effect record, but that was all part of that whole New Jack Swing movement with FS Effect. So
I remember that. I remember that.
So yeah, man. So
now, I do have a question because we just showed the plaque, and these guys were, I can't say the first boy band, but when they did come out, they showed out. Whatever happened to Color Me Back?
I don't know. I mean, I heard that they were individually doing production, right. And they were from the Mid-South. They were from Oklahoma.
Right.
So, I'm sure.
Well, I see you with your double-breasted suit on there, repping.
Yeah, that was the time of Hugo Boss. The gentleman standing next to me, that's right. Irving Azoff. Irving Azoff was literally a giant in the music business. Giant right. was his label. He was the manager for the Eagles and Steely Dan.
Ooh.
So, and this picture has other legends.
I see Hank in the back.
No. That's Ray Harris.
That's Ray.
Don't get the Godfather twisted. That's Ray Harris.
That's Ray. Man. That's Ray.
Yeah. So, and then some of the other gentlemen there's Charlie Minor, who was a legendary promotion rep. He was at A&M for a long time, and he came over to Giant. But Color Me Bad, Color Me Bad gave Giant its legs, I think.
Right. And they sold 3 million records. If they didn't give them legs, they sure gave them a bank account.
Yeah, well, definitely that. And thank you, Giant.
Remember those CDs were $15 back then.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, people bought them. People bought them. But it was a different time too. The record business was a different time. Brick and mortar ruled the day. I had a partner when I worked at Motown, named Barbara Saunders. May she rest peacefully. And she was my big sister, and she took good care of me. Right. She opened doors. She opened doors in Washington, D.C. that I didn't even know existed.
Okay.
And I always say that I wouldn't have been successful in that job without her. Wow. For sure. She had hands that reached down into Richmond and into Norfolk. She had hands that reached up to Philadelphia. So we were a partnership. She handled all the retail stuff for us in the mid-Atlantic, and I handled the radio. But we worked really closely together, and she had a lot of relationships that she introduced to me. So definitely want to give her that shout out. She's no longer with us, but her spirit will always be with us.
Absolutely. Shout out to my man Thomas Williams for checking us out. I appreciate it. And if you're out and about, you can be a part of the show. Just go into the chat, say what you want to say, do what you want to do. We'll definitely shout you out. This is Shooting the Breeze Conversations with the DJ podcast, and I'm here with the legendary Tony Rice. He was doing national work over at Motown, the Giant Records. He also did a stint over at Uptown Records, right?
That was probably, I've said this to a number of people, that was probably the most fun that I've ever had.
Now let's go through the roster so people understand why you say that. the roster was ridiculous. Mary J. Blige.
It was Mary. It was Jodeci. It was Heavy D. It was Father MC. Puffy
Williams.
Puffy, who's he was the A&R. He was the A&R VP at that time.
I remember.
Yeah, and he was young.
This is before Andre fired him.
Yeah. So Andre was president of the label. Jimmy Love and I were partners in crime.
Right.
And like I said, it was the most fun because the artists were fun. Working with somebody like Heavy D. I mean, I can't begin to describe how cool that guy was, man. He was a funny guy. He was a good guy. He was loyal, and he was about it. He didn't like to fly, but so that meant that we got on the tour bus, and we would have a lot of fun going from city to city on those tour buses.
Right. I always heard of that about him. He never wanted to fly.
Yeah, but he got it done. He definitely got it done. Didn't get a chance to work with Mary directly because the time that I was there, she was kind of between records. She was working on an album. Mm-hmm. And with Jodeci, we were just finishing up, meaning we were just finishing working the first Jodeci album.
Okay, so Diary of a Mad Band hadn't dropped yet.
Hadn't dropped. They were in the studio. They were actually in the studio while I was working at Uptown.
Okay.
So I think we were we were hot with Father MC during that period. We
treat them like they want to be treated. You should try.
Right. Yeah, heavy. Oh, and what was crazy is we did this movie soundtrack called "Who's the Man."
Oh, Who's the Man? That's when Biggie was on that, wasn't he?
Yeah, for all you audiophiles that's out there, you want to go find that soundtrack because the first real Biggie joint is on that record, and it was that's right. It was an underground smash for us. Party and bullshit.
Party and bullshit.
Yep. And Biggie laid it down on that record. So
222s in my shoes, holler me love. I'm in the house.
It'll be so singing if my burglar alarm starts ringing. So, very quotable.
I tell people all the time that was his first joint. Was on that soundtrack.
And it was interesting because that was all young people marketing and promoting young people. Right. And Andre Harrell was about the culture. He was about it. He was about marketing the culture. And to work in his presence, that was great too, because he was a visionary guy, man. He saw things that in a different kind of way for that time. Like now these guys that are out here doing, guys and girls that are out here doing things, they definitely can chalk it up for what guys like that did in the past, because they created the pathway. They definitely did the pathway.
And now you see Mary doing movies
I love it. I love
television.
I love it. I love it because what Mary shows everyone is that little girls can be whoever they want to be if they're willing to work hard.
Right.
And she worked really hard, and she's enjoying the fruits of her labor.
Oh, absolutely.
So
when we talk about, I want to get back to Motown for a quick second, because you had the part of Mo Jazz, so the Norman Browns of the world,
Wayman Tisdale, Norman Brown, Wayman Tisdale,
Power Forward, the Power Forward album.
Oh, I love that record. Oh, I love the time in terms of while we were working on the record, Steve McKeever would bring a group of us down to Phoenix, because at that time Wayman Tisdale was still playing for the Phoenix Suns.
For the Suns, yeah.
Right? So you could get on a plane in LA and you could be in Phoenix in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So we fly down there on a humbug, right? And Wayman was just incredibly talented, man. Incredibly talented. And Norman Brown, being
he's still killing them today.
Being an audiophile myself, I'm listening to Wes Montgomery and all these cats from back in the day. I can put Norman right in that mix with those guys, man. And he's got a catalog now to go with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let me spring one on you that you may not remember.
Okay.
And these cats are still out here in LA doing a lot of live music. Impromptu.
I still remember Impromptu. Okay, look at
man. My man just did a show 2 weekends ago. I couldn't go because I had another engagement to attend, but they're still doing things, man. Still groovy. You remember how groovy that record was?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So we as we talk about jazz, we just lost one of our greats this week, David Sanborn.
Yeah, man.
I started doing jazz. Jazz was my first genre of radio that I did, and I remember certain artists. I remember the David Sanborns, the Bob Jameses of the world, the Earl Clues, all of those guys. That's where I got my radio chops and my musical chops through jazz. And when I saw that David Sanborn had passed away, because one of my favorite records was Maputo.
Yeah,
because that thing, man, I love that thing. But we're gonna talk about this gentleman right here.
Oh man,
jazz.
Yeah, that's
dog, my man. Back in the day, he wrote.
Hey, let me tell you something. If you listen to the first Kenny G album, it's a world away from what he's doing. It was kind of funky. It was like, whoa,
Songbird.
Nice guy, really nice guy. I think that was you remember Ken Wilson, right?
Oh yeah,
Ken Wilson. So when I worked at R&R, Ken Wilson was one of my tight hangout buddies. He was a regional for Arista here in LA. And so, we were both young. So we gravitated towards one another because we were the same age. So, whenever there was a party going on. So this was some sort of big event that Arista was having. And he's like, man, let me introduce you to this cat, Kenny G. I was like, yeah, I'm familiar with him. Let me meet that guy. So,
Let me meet the Songbird guy.
Yeah, you see Kenny G and I got our Miami Vice gear on.
Oh, yeah. Y'all look like y'all about to go do something real bad.
Yeah, we look like 85.
Hey, speaking of 85, this is actually not 85. This is the 90s. I had to pull this up. So sometimes I just try to find something on social media that you may even remember. So I had to the Porsche.
Oh.
I took the Porsche because I was in LA for an event. I think it was Urban. What were we doing?
Urban Network.
Urban Network.
Yeah.
And you introduced me to a young lady. Her name was Nia.
Talking about Nia Long?
Nia Long.
Yeah.
When you introduced me to Nia Long, I was like, "Oh, you done gone here to LA and went straight LA." Because
I have a connection. I had a connection with her
in the industry. I mean, she was the it girl, and she was at the event, and he was like, "Hey, Ely, let me introduce you to somebody."
because her and a couple other young ladies were friends of mine. They were really good friends of mine, right? Yeah, and Nia's cousin and I had a connection. So, we went from there. But this picture is interesting because that's my boy Chris Cathcart, who was a publicist at Motown, and we went to Howard together. And he's a college professor now, and teaching public relations and the whole deal. But we're trying to figure out where this picture came from, who took this picture, and why were we sitting on the ground in a parking lot eating
Burger King? That's Burger King. I know that
Burger King.
That's Burger King, baby.
Yeah. So we were youngsters.
I remember that Porsche when I was in LA. You pulled up. I was like, "Go ahead, Tony. All right." So, but you had, it's crazy because when I think about all of the people that you work with, and then the pictures that you shared with me, I mean, I didn't know how many legends you were running with. Patrice Rushen.
Yeah, man. That's pure talent right there, Miss Rushen. That's that's royal talent right there.
That's royal. I've seen her. I'd be going and watching another band and music director Patrice Rushen. I was like, she's the music director for everybody.
Yeah.
When I go see stuff.
I mean, her music is all over the television now because that's how that's the world in which she's been in probably for the last 20 years has been TV music.
Okay.
So do you know who that brother is standing next to her?
I forgot his name.
Man, that's the legendary. That is my big brother, man, the legendary Joe Gorham from WHUR FM in Washington.
Okay.
All right. May he rest peacefully. But that brother right there, he taught me a whole lot.
Wow.
A whole lot.
Yeah, man. It's crazy because we see a lot of our folks, coming out the earth.
Cycle of life, brother.
Yeah. You see a lot of that's going on. So, give everybody their flowers while they're here. Some more classics, man.
The
Whispers, the Twins.
Yeah, man. That's so Walt Baby Love next to me.
Oh, right? I see Walt. He's out a couple of times.
I was a college student. This is when I worked for him as a college student, and then I went back to Howard that year, graduated, and then, like I told you, he gave me a job, and I came back to LA. So
did he ever cuss you out?
No, he wasn't that kind of. He's a minister now, man. So he
cussed me out for not getting those ads in time. I come to call out before. Damn it, Eric, what is going on?
Yeah, because we operated on deadline, and our chart was the last chart to go up.
Okay.
So and we were trying not to be on quote unquote CP time all the time.
The urban chart that had to be reported about all the black music directors.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a minister now, man. He's a minister at Fame. I saw him a couple of years ago when my godson this is quite a while now. My godson was being christened, and he was there at the church. He's at one of the large churches here in LA too.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
but yeah, that's the Whispers, man. Nice Cats. Miss Nancy Pitts there from Solar. Yeah.
Oh, Solar Records.
Yeah, man.
Where the Deal were at one time.
Before we knew who they were.
Yeah, I didn't know who LA and Babyface
Deal.
were. The Deal.
Midnight Star.
Yeah.
Well, they was, Linda Clifford. They had a roster over there. Dick Griffey was doing big things over there at Solar.
He was. He really was.
That building still stands here in LA, man. You go to Hollywood, it's on a main drag called Cahuenga Boulevard.
Okay.
It's I think Babyface had it for a while, and then I think somebody else may have. I think LaFace was there. It's all kinds of people have moved because it's a huge office tower that they built, and it was called the Solar Tower, right. But it's changed names over time.
And I do have a question because I did pull a picture that you gave me. Who are these folks?
Well, those are the good girls on Motown.
That's right. The good girls.
Joyce, Shireen in the middle there, and on the end is DeMonica, and the lady in the white is Patty Jackson from WDAS.
Yes, okay.
So you may see Shireen, who has the hat on there in the middle. She's an actress. She's on TV. I see her on TV all the time. All kinds of lifestyle movies, And the way she looks on that picture, she looks the same today.
She looks like a tall Zendaya.
Yeah. So these pictures, they were probably like 17 and 18 at the time.
Right.
But they had that record, Your Sweetness Is My Weakness. Your
sweetness is my weakness.
Yeah.
Man.
Little LA girls, little LA celebrities,
Wow. So we had some conversations early because you've been out the business a while.
Long time.
And you've gone on to another career.
Well, I had an interim career for 10 years during that time. Managing Jill Scott, managing Kenny Lattimore, managing a group called Ideal, Adriana Evans, and my partner.
I still rock Adriana Evans. I love that.
My partner and I, we partnered with Jazzy Jeff to handle the business side of A Touch of Jazz. So while we were partnered in that, the producers that we worked with produced Music Soul Child, Darius Rucker, did some music on Isaac Hayes. I mean, that was the second most fun time for me because it was just being a studio rat and it was all about the music.
So, I mean, you overshadowed your artist, man. I mean, what type of manager are you when, Jill Scott would go into a place and they asking for you?
Yeah, only because they were just meeting her. That was it. So, trust me, her name is 10 times bigger than mine could ever be at this point in the game, So,
But tell everybody how much she loved you and what she did for you on that shout.
Well, you as a manager, you have to ingratiate yourself because you're there to serve. Right. And it can be somewhat thankless. And what you try to do is you try to put them, if you can, in a position where they can have a career and a future. Because if you're a good manager, what you should be doing is you should be helping them build their asset, helping them build their talent. And I remember with Jill, the number one thing was we weren't sure how much radio airplay we were going to really be able to get. We thought we had put together fantastic, because of the time in which we were working with. We knew we had done a great record, but we didn't know how much radio airplay we were going to get, right? And so our whole focus was connecting with people who were touring. Jill had done writing on her own, and she was involved in that Roots project. And when they toured, she sang the hook for "You Got Me."
Yep, sure did.
So, and I remember on the tour, that was a national tour where she started off doing just the hook for "You Got Me," and it expanded to a point where she was probably doing 20 or 30 minute sets. So, which was great because it led right into her record.
Right.
And the point I was making with the story is that one of the things that I try to do with all of my clients was impart upon how important it was to get out on the road and tour, especially if we were able to do, real touring,
Right.
not company supported tour support type tours. No, where we go in, I negotiate deals with promoters and they get paid because that's their money.
Right.
And so our job as managers was really trying to find revenue streams, and those revenue streams led me to the legal work that I do now. You said another career. So I do legal work for UCLA, and it's kind of like a retirement job for me because I'm here at home. I don't leave the comforts of my home. I live about 3 miles from the beach, and I ain't moving.
Hey, man. So you managed Jill. Who else did you manage? You said Kenny Lattimore?
Kenny Lattimore, and still have a really good relationship with him. Saw him.
He's still doing it. He's got a single out with
still doing it.
Smoking. And his
Still
album he's doing is smoking.
Yeah, that record he got with Lettucey, I was like,
oh yeah. It'll.
So,
ladies, don't. If the guy got that on when you walk in the door, it's gonna be a problem. It's a problem.
So I managed Kenny with my partner Colin Gale, and Colin Gale now co-manages Tyler.
The water girl.
Huh?
The young lady that has the water.
Yeah.
Water.
So he lives in South Africa. He lives in Johannesburg. But he and I are brothers. He and I are brothers. I mean, Gerald Busby, I would run into Gerald Busby back in the day, and Gerald would always be like, I just saw your brother. Because we kind of look alike. So people automatically assumed that we were brothers. He's a couple years younger than me, but we managed Jill together. We managed Kenny together. We had a management company called Rhythm Jazz Management.
Okay.
And like I said, and we partnered with Jazzy Jeff on his company, which was A Touch of Jazz.
Okay.
And you can look at a lot of neo soul records at the beginning of neo soul, what was considered the beginning of neo soul. And you can see A Touch of Jazz's fingerprints on it. Vivian Green, Carol Riddick, all those artists, because Philadelphia, it was a Philadelphia thing, and the Philadelphia creative community shared, those guys, James Poyser and those guys, Victor Duplay, everybody worked, everybody helped, everybody wrote. Eric Roberson would come in and write, it's just when I think back on it, was a really beautiful time, man. All those people were young people. It was all about creativity. And like I said in the beginning of this conversation, I was the luckiest guy in the world to just be in the middle of all that, man. To just be in the middle of all that.
And I tell people, I was talking to one of my best friends the other day, and I said, man, I haven't worked a day in my life.
Yeah.
What are you talking
about? Well, I've worked some days in my life.
I mean, you know what I'm saying. I mean,
but I know exactly what you're saying.
I've been in radio, music, and entertainment since college.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some days I cuss some folk out, and then there's some days I got cussed out. But at the end of the day, it's you find your life flying by you because you are so engaged in what you do. It's not a situation where, oh God, it's Monday, I got to go in. Oh, it's Monday, I got to be at the game tonight, or I got to be with this artist, or
I would totally lose track of the days of the week.
You lose track. You really
totally
do.
Lose track.
I look down, I'm like, oh, today's Thursday. Wow, okay, I got a podcast tonight. I got to make sure I got with Tony.
But what's interesting? You talked about time going by. Like, I mean, we're in 2024. Right. You and I met. When we met, it was
like early 90s.
Yeah, it was probably like
89, 90.
No, wait a minute. No, you and I met in the late 80s. You had just started at CDX. So you think about how fast that time has gone by. It just seems like yesterday.
Yeah.
And that goes right to what you were saying. When you do what you love, time doesn't become an issue.
Right.
When you do what you love and you do what you're passionate about, whatever it may be, then you'll never work a day in your life.
I work a day in my life, man.
I
got to go back to one of the stories because I know what you've done. I've got plaques. I've got memories. I got with you. But your seed had no idea who the hell his daddy was. Let's talk about that story.
I have a teenage son who is a total music head, right? And when he was a little boy, I was selfish. I didn't want him into Radio Disney and those kind of things. So I would play a lot of different music for him, right? So he was, 5 years old, sitting at the computer, listening to Amel LaRue. Yeah, I like Lettucey Daddy, that kind of stuff. So we happened to be on a family trip visiting some family in Atlanta. And in my sister's house, she has an office, and her walls are covered with all these platinum and gold plaques. Right. And they all have my name on them. So, he's 5, 6 years old, he's kind of advanced, and he's looking around, and he's like, Dad, why do all these plaques have your name on them? And, at that point in his young existence, I had to explain to him that was a life that I used to live. That was a life because as you can see in my office, I lived in this house. I lived in this house when he was a baby. I brought him home from the hospital to this house. Right. But you can see my office. You don't see any real remnants of music on my walls. There's a newspaper in the back over here to my right, over my right shoulder, of the LA Times, the day that Obama was president. He won the election. My favorite artist, Black artist on the wall back there.
Who's that?
And then her name is Kathleen Ellen. So she does it. She's no longer with us, but her work is growing in value every day. So,
okay, all right.
And then on the wall over here, that's my son. I was putting away college money for him when he was a youngster, because he was a handsome little guy. So he did a couple National Gap commercials and a couple other things, and did some TV. So but the interesting part about it was that he had no clue that I had any fingers in entertainment, because all he knows is well, my dad is he does legal work at UCLA. He's on the legal so hey, that's what I do.
That you work with the Temptations, Diana Ross, Boys to Men,
Stephen Morris,
Stevie Wonder, Monet on Stars, who's Mary J. Blige. He has no idea that you are any part of it. I heard Sade had the same revelation. Her kid didn't realize her mother was a superstar.
Yeah.
She was like, "You're what?
Yeah.
You're just my mama."
Yeah,
no.
That's probably a shocker. That's just mom.
That's mom. No,
that's how it is.
Mom.
And everybody who's a parent can relate, because our kids see us for who we are in front of them every day, and that's what they should see us as. And we should be positive, and we should be building pathways for them to be whoever they're going to be in their future. But it was never important him knowing what I did. What was more important was making sure that he was saying thank you and please, and being respectful to his mama and other women. And, so those.
But Jill Scott CD, and it says, special thanks to Tony Rice for.
Oh, yeah. My wife, when we were dating, we had these special promo Jill Scott CDs that I think we produced like 500 of them for radio, pass around. They had pictures, and, it was all the studio stuff, all the photographs that we did in the studio. And the first line of the liner notes, she's thanking people, and she goes, "I just want to thank Tony Rice for all good things." And I was like, "No, don't do that." Don't do that. I just know a few people. Don't make it sound like, but it went to the fact that, whenever she was on the road doing radio, because I had done national promotion and I had worked at R&R and talked to all these program directors over the years, that they knew I was managing her, and, how's he doing? And she'd go, every time I go on the radio station, somebody's asking me about you. And I was like, well, that won't last long. They'll be asking about you soon. So yeah.
That's what's up. man.
Yeah,
So,
man, that's definitely what's up.
for anybody that's aspiring to get into the music industry now, what type of advice would you give them?
I would tell them, first of all, there's a couple of things I would say. First of all, always be true to yourself, right? Your integrity is the most important thing. If you give someone your word, you've got to stand on it, no matter what you're doing. And like I said earlier in the conversation, the people that you meet early in your journey are some of the same people that you'll work with later in your journey and who may be extremely influential in that journey. So you want to always treat people with the respect that you want to be treated with. And then from a professional perspective, know your value. I mean, unfortunately, there were a lot of people that we knew who got into the business and got caught up in a lot of things and didn't develop the kinds of skills that they needed. I mean, the record business doesn't last forever. Entertainment doesn't last forever. But those skills that you can pick up will last forever. So, and I'm a testament to that. I mean, public speaking and networking and reviewing contracts and creating contracts and legal work. Those are things that I developed as part of my journey in the music business. And now here I work for the #1 research university in America, doing something that had nothing to do with the music business. So make sure as a young person, if you're listening to this, make yourself marketable. Develop your personal assets because you have them. You just got to be willing to work at it and develop them.
Wow. Good information. Good information. Now, last week was the first time that I ever had a guest on that. When I get to this part of the show, I say, well, how can people follow you on social media? And that was Nat. And Nat said, I ain't on social media. And he had a bunch of black and white photos that we used. And he was the first person.
Oh, man, Nat.
Nat was the first person to give me a bunch of black and white photos. You are the second person in the second week that has given me a bunch of black and white photos.
And I don't have
social media.
Hey, we're men of a certain age. I'm
in your space.
Yeah, you are. But you have had the good fortune of you stayed in radio, you stayed around that. So it became, for me, I kind of moved away from that. And like I was on a call today for work, and I told the guy, I said, listen, we're working on some agreement. And I said, listen, if we have to go back and forth with each other via email more than twice, we got to pick up the phone.
Old school.
We got to pick up the phone. One thing that young people have to realize is that personal contact is invaluable. You don't know me through my online presence. You don't know my essence. You don't know my flavor. But when we get on the phone or even Zoom or something like this, you can pick that up. So, so don't hide behind your social media to the point where people don't know who you are, But no, I don't have a social media handle.
I know. When I read it again, I was like, I had two guys back to back with a bunch of black and white folks pictures, and they didn't have social media.
Hey man, we're men of a certain age. That's right.
Men of a certain age. I like that. I'm a man of a certain age. I still got my handle. So it's all good because I'm almost required because I'm still in the industry, some form of fashion. So, Tony, it was truly an honor and a pleasure to connect with you.
Pleasure's mine, brother. Once again, brother. I'm the luckiest cat around. So thank you, brother.
So, of course, we do this each and every week with Lorenzo on a Thursday night. We're shooting the breeze conversations with the DJ. We get a chance to honor some of the folks that were in the background of some of your favorite artists, and like talking to Tony and understanding the folks that he worked with. I'm pretty sure there were some artists that we may have talked about. He's like, man, I really love that song. I love that group. The gentleman that's actually right beside me in major portions and parts of their lives. And I want to give my friends their roses right now, because we are men of a certain age and we are in an industry of a certain age. And some of us are crossing that bridge that we call a circle of life. And I just wanted to spend time with some of our folks and let everybody know the contributions that they made, because this is documented and this is history.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to say, you know what? How did Jill Scott and how they get to that part? Somebody going to pick up, hey, man, this little podcast that these guys been talking about the folks that started BET and or Radio One or the First Station, and the people that shaped the music industry. There's a bunch of videos of these folks, so we want to be able to document those things, man, and it's been fun.
Yeah. I mean, you got the opportunity. There's so many people that are still around. You mentioned Dave Linton last week. I mean, that's somebody you definitely want to talk to, man, because David has seen a lot. David has seen a lot too. He's been there. I mean, we all grew up in this. We're all around the same age, so we all grew up in it together. Kenny Wilson, man, mention him.
I got the kid.
And then don't forget the women, because there's so many.
Oh no, we've got Wanda Hayes been on this show. I got to get Myra. I got to get Linda Penn, the queen. Got to get her.
Most definitely.
I got to get her on the show.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, we got some. I got some folks that we got to get on. And it's been a good ride. So I can't complain. And then there's some of the folks I can't get on because believe me, I'm not gonna ask about the Diddy parties. No. All my Arista and Bad Boy guys, they're like, we can't get on here with you right now.
Yeah, not a good look right now.
I'm not gonna ask.
Not a good look.
Oh, all my Bad Boy folks, and I got a lot of them. They're like, not right now, not right now. No.
Well, I'm gonna say this, and I said this before. I worked with that brother, Sean Combs, when he was at Uptown. And he was an incredible A&R talent, and I'll give him those flowers at that time for sure. I haven't seen him in years, but with my exposure to him and my interaction with him back in 91, 92 was a different thing, So I hope that
he did it now.
Hey man, I hope that God can look over these people and guide them through these tough times, because these seas are definitely rough.
Yeah, right now, definitely. Once again, thank you, brother. Stick around for a quick second. I'm going to throw you in the green room, and I'm going to sign off. Hold on now.
All right.
Like I said, folks, that was my man, Tony Rice, and this is Shooting the Breeze Conversations with the DJ. We'll be back next Thursday, of course, with Lorenzo, and we're going to have some more folks in the music and entertainment industry, and we're going to chop it up and talk about, some of the artists and the folks that they were behind and very influential in helping them to create and shape their careers. And we're glad that you chopped it up with us this afternoon. So do me a favor. Go ahead, hit the like button if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, if you are on YouTube, go ahead, hit the subscription button as well as the share button, and we will see you next week.